Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I am really excited about the amazing conversations that we are going to have today going forward. We are pleased to welcome and introduce our key speakers who are digital evangelists in their own right, and of course are our subject matters today on board. So leading from the front is Vinil Vadi, who is our CTO and head of AI and automation with Sunera for almost a decade now. Vinil drives the digital transformation and the innovation journey along with his team of 80 plus digital engineers whose focus is to help the enterprise accelerate their digital journey, as well as quickly productionize and monetize the solutions. He also happens to have led the team that pioneered the use of cloud-native product development on AWS, and also was one of the first to use IoT and machine learning to create a lot of disruptive solutions. He is based out of St. Louis with his family, and outside his work, his passion projects are reading, crypto, podcasts, and home DIY improvement projects. Joining Vinil would be Raghuveer Rajeevalochan, who is the BPM practice head for Suneratech. He brings along with himself 22 years of technology and management experience in process excellence, business process management, robotic process automation, and cognitive automation. He has led multiple initiatives in leading, architecting, and delivering high visibility robotics and BPM projects in financial services as well as healthcare domain. Outside work, Raghav enjoys organic farming as well as likes playing flute. Alongside, I take pleasure to introduce Raghuveer, who is our global automation and AI head with Suneratech. His core experience lies in the areas of robotic process automation, artificial intelligence delivery, and program management. In his previous stints, he has been associated with big names where he was heading automation and AI initiatives for APAC, US, and Europe regions. He has been instrumental in creating automation delivery framework and methodology. On the personal front, he is a certified scuba diver and loves adventure sports, and is also associated with a lot of social causes. So we welcome you all, and over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Indra. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the most awaited and exciting presentation and the webinar that we're going to present from Sunera. This is, targeted towards the CFOs' day-to-day processes and day-to-day initiatives that they take in. So I would take you through the table of content and hand it over to Vinil. So Vinil is going to present you the CFO's digital agenda for 2022. Digital initiatives, trends, challenges, and actions for the CFO. Automation heat map for ops. This is researched by Sunera, and we have come up with an automation heat map for CFOs. Automation priorities in process to pay. We'll also showcase a case study, a very successful case study, which is saving over 50% to the customers in invoice processing. We'll be more than happy to introduce you to our ServiceNext automation platforms, APNext features and benefits, and then finally APNext Digital Assistant. Thank you all. Over to Vinil.
Hey, thanks, Indra. Thanks, Raghav. Thanks for that kind introduction, Indra. Yeah, very happy to be here. Thank you all for taking the time out. We'll make sure that we'll make the most productive time gain share for you from this conversation is what I'm hoping for. So just to get started and set a context, this whole webinar is about how, while the focus is about what are the opportunities within accounts payable for us to automate and make it a very efficient system, right? I think that's the core of the discussion, but, just wanted to kind of lead us through to that point from, taking it from what is happening within finance and accounting space, right? That's number one. What are the CFO organization's priorities? What's happening there? What is the role that the CFO's organization is playing today within the entire digital transformation journey for an enterprise, right? How are the changes? So I wanted to spend some time looking at what's happening out there in the industry. Now, while a lot of data on the slides that you see is coming from analyst research, but I wanted to kind of relate this to experiences that I have had in interacting and working along with the finance teams for the last 4 or 5 years now, right? So what I'll do is I'll take one particular engagement, large engagement, that we are having in the automation space. We engage with one of the largest telecom companies in the US, in fact, one of the top 3, right? And then, wanted to kind of correlate, how, what are the trends, and like I said, how we see finance role in the whole digital transformation journey changing, right? So, for example, on this slide, we see what are the top priorities for the CFO organization for the year 2022, right? And then we see that, there are 2 distinct opportunities, right? When we talk about automation and efficiency and productivity, right? One, on the left-hand side, you see that the CFO's organization has become very critical, right, in driving digital acceleration, right? And why is that, right? Because there is a vested interest of making sure that, whatever digital investments that an enterprise is making, that actually have an impact, right, on driving profitable growth, right? That's number one. Number 2 is in terms of, making the business more resilient, especially COVID related disruptions, right, that businesses face today, enterprises face today, right? That has accelerated the need for building a resilient enterprise, right? And one of the cornerstones of building a resilient enterprise would be our ability to, make the right or make right decisions in the right time, right? So given that, and the way that businesses want to help their stakeholders, right, whether it's their supply chain leader, whether it is their hiring practice, right, whether it is their purchase departments, whatever, right? So they want to make sure that we make the right decisions at the right time, right? And for that you need a lot of insights, predictable insights in terms of how the business is going to behave three quarters from now, and based on that you are able to make some informed decisions, right? So these are the 2 key roles that the CFO's organization is playing there. Now on the right hand side you see that a lot of the finance teams are automating their own functions within the finance and accounting space, right? So what are the key initiatives for 2022? For example, let me talk about this customer that I worked with, for the last 4 years during their entire digital transformation journey, right? When we started off, right, finance was just a bystander, right? They were just looking at, we were working with IT, we were working with the business, right, more on the supply chain, right, side of things. Finance was just a bystander. They would come in, after, let's say we wanted to do a pilot, we'd do an engagement model, and then the finance would come and say, hey, you know what, how does the financials look, right? That's about it. From that to now today, if you look at, finance is a key stakeholder, right, in all the automation discussions that we have, right? There's a value and a value engineering team from finance within the board that they've formed this company, right? And then they are a critical part of that in terms of looking at, how do we fund those initiatives? How do we make sure those initiatives are giving us the right investments or the business KPIs that or the outcomes that we have planned, right? And it has become very strategic, right? So that's the example that I wanted to give you. And on the right hand side, finance today, when we started off with this customer, we were just looking at automating some of the few processes, right, in their entire procure-to-pay, right? In terms of how do we automate invoices, and it was a one-off use case. And today you see that, we see that, it's a very strategic initiative today, right? In terms of making finance and accounting function that much more efficient, right? So can you go to the next slide? So just wanted to kind of set the stage for our conversation, right? Now, here is some interesting insights that I wanted to kind of share with you, right? Three things, right? So while CFO's organization is participative, right, they are very keen to enable the business to invest in making sure that they are a more resilient enterprise, right? What has happened is, 4 or 5 years ago, when we started off our automation journey, right? For example, again, I'm going back to this customer. The way they went about doing this, right, when we first partnered with it is, it was a very ad hoc kind of an engagement, right? So they would say, hey, my business, IT would say, hey, business users are complaining about this particular process, which takes too long, or, it takes too much manual effort. So why don't we go ahead and automate that, right? And then in the process, then, they would buy a couple of parts, whether it's UiPath or Automation Anywhere or any other RPA bots, they would deploy it, right? And then forget it. But what has happened is that, in the first year, I remember, we deployed more than 30 bots, right? And then we came back saying, 1 year down the line, we came back saying more than 70% of the bots were not being used, right? Finance had fallen back to their previous manual procedure because they were not dependable. They didn't realize the amount of change management that was required within the teams, right? To adopt to the new digital process. And we didn't realize the amount of training that is required, right? We didn't realize the amount of maintenance of the bot, because business is not static. It's an ever-changing, kind of a agile process, right? So we didn't realize the amount of effort it required to keep these bots productive and make sure that they are relevant to today's business processes that are being followed, right? So the result was only about 25% of the bots were actually being productive, right? While 75% of the effort spent, the investment that we went in, was not giving any outcomes for the business, right? So that's number one. While CFOs are very excited about the promise of automation, they're also very skeptical. Given the history, they're also very skeptical in terms of the business outcomes that that we'll see, right? So that's number one. Number two is the challenges in terms of what are the challenges, right? Like I just said, right? Two things. One is, how do we ensure that whatever outcomes that we are promising to the business, we are going towards that. That's number one. Number two is, within finance function, right? As a finance wants to become the flag bearer of digitalization within the company because their own vested interest, right? So that's number two. How do I digitalize? What are the areas within finance that I should focus on, right? Now, given these two, I think overall the trend that we are seeing, right, is that businesses are looking at moving away from the traditional funding models, right? What is the traditional funding model? The traditional funding model is you plan, you budget, you will say, hey, you know what? I have about 68 processes that I want to automate today, right? This year, right? And then you do a funding for that. And then you wait for that entire project to be done to look at the outcomes, right? Now that is a skewed, that has become a skewed model, right? Where, CFOs are saying, how do, I don't have a bunch of investment to make, right? And then wait for about 18 months for you to come back to me and say that, whether, these were, whether we, achieved the resulting outcomes that we planned, right? That's number one, right? So how do, and we'll spend some time as we go go through the presentation, right, and the discussion, we'll spend some time in terms of what are the new innovative business models or engagement models that CFOs are looking at now, right? So that's on the first action is the engagement models, the way we buy innovation, the way we accelerate innovation is changing. And, what are the new models? We'll spend some time there. On the right-hand side, you see what are the, like I said, what are the key challenges when it comes to adopting digital, right? So that's another major focus area for CFOs organization when they're looking at building digital capabilities and competences within their finance and accounting. So I just don't want to make it a one-way traffic. If you have any questions, please, type them in the chat box, and then, we'll be more than happy to answer some of those questions, right? Now, taking that as, whatever the context that we have in terms of what are the areas that, the CFO's organization is focusing on. Now, if you were to kind of double click on that, right? I talked about outcomes, right? Now, what are the outcomes what are the two key outcomes that CFO's organization is measuring, which actually reflects in your balance sheet and your performance, right? One is, are we being more efficient, right? Within our operations, are we being as efficient as possible, right? That's number one, right? Number two, have we, because the mantra today in current environment with, your inflation, with your supply chain disruptions, right? In the current scenario, the mantra that enterprises are adopting is do more with less, right? How do I do more with less, right? So improving the enterprise productivity is another key KPI, right? So from a CFO standpoint, strategic standpoint, I think these are the two things that, two KPIs that are moving the needle when it comes to actual business outcomes, right? In terms of business performance. Now, so within that, right? Now, within that, there is opportunities across the enterprise, right? In terms of, how we can become more efficient, more resilient, and take better decisions across the functions, right? Across finance and accounting, HR, payroll, IT, and corporate. Now, what we have done is we have kind of, based on all our experience, right? In working with more than, about 50 enterprise customers that we work today, we kind of put that into a heat map and said, what are the areas, right from low-hanging fruits to, complex process, what are the areas within each of these functions that we can automate and see a lot of efficiency gains for the enterprise, right? So that's where, for finance, we have about close to more than 8 or 9 processes, that are very popular with most of our customers that are getting automated, right? Similarly, of course, we have for finance, payroll, and IT and corporate, within those functions, what are the areas? But for today's discussion, I think, we can kind of double click on the finance and accounting function, right? And then, we'll go to, and most of them, you see that, the top most one is invoice processing, right? That has been by far the most popular use case that, when you're talking to a finance and accounting teams, that is by far the most manual or, manual effort intensive operations, right? Within an enterprise, which can be easily, yeah. So within that, if I were to kind of double click within P2P, right? Then, this again, we kind of mapped out and said, okay, within P2P, what are the specific functions that we can automate, right? And on the right-hand side, you see that, we kind of color-coded each of the process, right? In terms of which of the functions have maximum benefit and have the potential to get automated and make this whole process more efficient, right? So across management, procurement activities, purchase goods and services, received goods, right? So we kind of map that based on all the work that we have done so far. We were kind of able to put this heat map together so that finance and accounting function can prioritize these as they embark on their automation journey. So here, I just wanted to kind of take a step back, right, and then take a typical look at look at a case study, right, and then kind of walk you through in terms of what the benefits are. What are the typical benefits that you're looking at, right? So let me take the example of a large customer that we work with, right? Right, and they are in the telecom space. So, on the left-hand side, you see what was the current state, right? When we went in about more than 2.5 years ago, what was the state of their entire invoice processing, right? So they were kind of processing about 85,000 odd invoices, right? All of them were being done manually. And the invoice, they had all kinds of invoices, right? There were invoices coming in PDF, there were invoices in Excel, there was email, there was EDI, right? All kinds of invoices, right? Large telecom company, multiple, hundreds and hundreds of vendors, right, working with the company, large volume of invoices, right, hundreds of cost centers, right, approvals, right, and then they were on Oracle, ERP on-prem, right. So and they had a large team, and that team, the accounts payable team, was divided into multiple things, right. One was just for the document processing. Another team was focusing on cost center approvals, right? Another team was focusing on the entire audit function, right? Another team was focusing on the payments. Another team was focusing on the payment information archival, and so on and so forth, right? So they had a large team, right, that was working, right, on this. And then, it was, there were two issues with that, right? One, they were having several issues with, missed on-time payments, right? Vendor escalations and so on and so forth, right? And then their vendor delight factor was not that very high. And that was number one. Number two, the enterprise was also missing out on a lot of early payment discounts that were built into their contracts, right? Vendor contracts. Like, for example, if I were to pay a specific invoice before the 30 days, then I would get a 3% discount, right? So they were also missing out on that. And then they were also missing out on, because this entire thing was manual, they didn't have a lot of insight into their, cash flow management and, cash flow predictions and so on and so forth, because they couldn't understand which of the invoices were to be prioritized, which can, kind of wait till another 15 days. So their entire cash flow management was becoming a very, very manual activity with more than about 50 to 60 Excel sheets involved. It was a very complex process, right? So then we came in, we did about a couple of things, right? One, we automated their entire invoice document processing as a function, right? And then, so irrespective of the type of invoice, whether it's a PDF, it's coming in an email as an attachment, as or going to a portal and downloading that invoice or whatever, right? The PO, non-PO, right? All kinds of invoices, right? So we kind of automated that whole function. And what we realized was that when you automate all of this, standard out there in the market, you would get an accuracy of about, let's say, 50 or 60%, right? So what does that mean? So essentially, you have a large portion of your team still focusing on the document processing, right? Now, because somebody had to do that, because the bot was only able to accurately, kind of process about, let's say, 50% of it. Rest of the 50% was still a significant amount of work that was there. So that's when we realized that, we had to be completely touchless, So that means we'd have to have efficiencies or accuracy of 90% and above, right? Only then we would be able to significantly move the needle in terms of moving the current team into higher value adding tasks like cash flow management and cash flow planning, right? Vendor contract negotiations, right? And other important things up the value chain. Right? So what we did was we've kind of put a system in place where, the system now today, it is accurately processing more than about 90%, 95% accuracy. So that means if 100 invoices it processes, 95 of them are 100% accurate, right? So that's number one. Number two, there are complex scenarios, right? There are some non-PO, PO. In the same invoice, there'll be a PO, non-PO, there'll be a two-way matching, there'll be a three-way matching and all that, right? So what we did was we did a scalable framework, right? Where these kinds of new scenarios, as and when they come, can be added very quickly to the entire system so that it can start, processing that and maintain that 95% touchless metric, right? Now, how did we do that? So typically what happens is if you were to add any new scenario within your invoice processing function, it would take generally, from a traditional perspective, it would take anywhere between a week to 10 days, right, for that scenario to get added, right? Now, from that, in our platform, we've made sure that, within 24 hours, any new scenario that the bot encounters, within 24 hours, that is implemented, tested, and released, right? So same day, right? So that means even if the bot encounters a new scenario, within the next business day, it has learned it, and now it is processing that, right? That's number two, right? Number three, from a benefit standpoint, what we did was we kind of automated the entire workflow. So that means when a bot reads an invoice, it accurately knows who in the system is going to approve that invoice, right? And it will send an email request to him, right, to take a look at it. And then if he's not taking a look at it and approving the payment, then, it would send a escalation, right? And it will also send a reminder and so on and so forth. So the complete visibility now lies with the finance controller through a dashboard that we put for her, where she's able to now completely see, okay, how is my AP functioning, right? In one place, single glass pane view in terms of saying, okay, how many invoices am I processing? What's my cash outflow look like? If there are any vendor escalations, where is it getting stuck, right? All of that information right now in a single pay view, right? She can look at it, right? So those are some of the benefits that, we've kind of, that the finance team sees from this whole solution. Go to the next. So let me just take a break here, and then if any questions, otherwise, I'll let Raghu continue the discussion.
Hey, thanks, Vinil.
Sure.
So, as all of you have seen and heard from Vinil, the what part. What are the processes that can be a right fit for automation, and invoice processing is the #1 target for most of the CFOs. Looking at the volume, looking at the cost saving, and most importantly, cost avoidance, and the governance which is in place. So invoice processing is one of the key targets for CFOs. Now we'll see how Sunera is able to achieve and support our core customers. So we have 3 models of services in Sunera. The topmost category that we have is called ServiceNext Process Automation Platforms. Similar to SaaS as a model, SaaS, software as a service and platform as a service, we think this as bot as a service. This is an initial zero investment from our customers, plug and play bot. There's a completely cloud-based automation anywhere driven bot, which supports your invoice processing. This has the capabilities of a bot, plus the complexity of workflow, exception handling, reconciliation, and most important, the domain-based governance model. For banking, you have different governance. For healthcare, you have different governance. What are the key aspects that we need to take care in the during the governance is taken care by our business architects and implemented as a solution. This is a $0 investment, pay-per-usage subscription model bot. Similar to accounts payable next, we have bots which can be used as a plug and play for your HR application automations, accounts receivable automation, and supply chain management automation. Apart from our ServiceNext automation platforms, we provide services through our regular automation advisory and assurance model. This is a model where our architects, subject matter experts will be part of your core discovery session. We will go through your process step by step, activity by activity. And this is a zero cost process discovery and assessment that we support. It's a free of cost model that we provide to our customers. We identify the key areas of improvement, key areas of automation. Those can be low hanging, those can be tactical automation, hyper automation, identify benefits to the customer as soon as possible. ROI is very important for us. Define the automation roadmap and the business cases. Then we venture into the automation assurance model. This is where we design the solutions using various products and tools, identify the KPIs that we need to support, what are the key integrations, upgrade security, and we come up with a solution design document and start the development. And finally, we have the most comprehensive and the end-to-end delivery model. That's the automation COE, or the digital acceleration enterprise-wide scaling. This is a challenge for us. We speak to the CFOs and understand their targets. And we challenge ourselves, our teams. Hey, let's take a challenge of cutting down the cost of invoice by 80%. We do assessment, we do discovery of each and every activity that is done in your process. Identify the key solution. We use various tools in this life cycle. We do process mining tools, process discovery tools, workflow tools, RPAs. We provide managed automation platforms. We support Pega marketing and campaign managements, BPM as a product, ledger system automation, and talent hunting. Can we go to the next slide, please? So if you can see here, this is the life cycle that we generally follow for all our customers. We use various tools, as I have told you earlier, for doing the scientific approach and identifying the key areas of improvement. Starting from automated discovery, we use tools like Celonis, Scan for identifying the gaps in the processes and the areas where we can improve these processes. Workforce management tools is what we generally use during the automated discovery. Then we do the process assessment. We use Six Sigmas, we use a lot of other tools in identifying the key areas of improvement. But Six Sigmas and all these have been the old tools, but to come to the accurate point of improvement, these are pretty useful. Then we identify.
Just to add to what Raghav is saying here, it's an important point he brought up, right? So, having worked for, right from the nascent stages of automation with a lot of customers, right? What we realized is intelligent automation is one, it is new, right? most of the CIOs organizations don't have that capabilities in-house, right? When it comes to intelligent automation, right? So most of the CIOs organization within the enterprise, the talent is focused on, back office, like, you have your ERP, you have your BI, you have your infrastructure, and then now, most of the enterprises are building their cloud capabilities, right? And so on and so forth. But when it comes to intelligent automation, this being a new technology, I think there's two things. One, there's not enough talent within the organization. There's not enough understanding in terms of, how intelligent automation can be deployed in an efficient way, so that, we can really deliver those business outcomes that we are looking at. Right? It's a complex journey, right? It's not something that, you can do it easily, like a packaged application implementation and so on and so forth. And then, so what we have realized is that there are multiple points of failure, right? When you take up intelligent automation as a journey, right? So there's like, first of all, there's number one, which is the process that I should automate. Right? Given my enterprise, given my processes, given, my customer, every customer, every industry likes to think that they are unique. They have a unique set of scenarios. They have a unique set of business processes, right? And because of that, it becomes very difficult for the executive, to kind of imagine, where do I start this intelligent automation journey? Where do I start? How do I scale? What is required, right? And then, what are the tool sets out there, right? What are the skills or talents to use those tool sets, right? How do I bring it all together? That is a kind of black box, that a lot of CIO organizations are struggling with today, right? Now, what we have done is, in order to address that specific problem, we have called, we've using all our experience, we have built something called as an intelligent automation cloud, right? We've named it ServiceNext. What it essentially has is that it has all the components and the tools and the capabilities that are required for you to accelerate intelligent automation initiatives. So what does that mean? Right from, a data-driven discovery in terms of what processes, where are the opportunities that lie within my organization, which when I automate, can give us that, those business, outcomes, right? So that's one. So we have automated discovery, process assessment tools built and provisioned within the intelligent automation cloud. From there on, we are saying, okay, once we have a roadmap, a specific roadmap in terms of, how do I start and scale my automation? Then, we have the tool sets, right? The actual RPA, the BPA, right? The Pegas of the world, the automation anywheres of the world, the UI parts of the world, right? Those are provisioned within the cloud, right? And because we have automated so many processes for so many customers for so long, we've actually taken all that knowledge, pre-trained, pre-built bots, like for example, an account payable bot sitting on top of Oracle, right? So we did that. So we have those capabilities, 50 to 60% ready to use out of the box capabilities, right? So we kind of took them, whether it is AP accounts payable bot on top of SAP, or or on Oracle ERP, or on Oracle, or a bot on that is integrated with Oracle HCM. We've kind of taken all those bots, all those integrations, all those security components that are needed, and then we package them so that the effort that is required to deploy those bots and to train those bots is substantially reduced, right? And then, we kind of built all the analytics, right? So, and then of course, we have built the entire team, right? That enables and the accelerates your automation, which is more than, we have about 300 people, right? Of process analysts, right? Functional analysts, process analysts. We have ERP integration specialists. We have bot trainers, right? We have quality guys. We have security. So the entire team, Raghav leads a team of 300 people within the COE that we built, right? And then the most important thing, having done these complicated, or let me say this, having simplified this complicated journey for a lot of enterprises, we understood the importance when it comes to data security and governance, right? So having taken all that knowledge, we've kind of built a comprehensive framework for security and governance. And the most important thing, like I said, is intelligent automation is not deploy and forget kind of a strategy, right? It needs continuous support for it to be relevant for the constantly changing business environment out there, right? All this we put together, packaged it on a outcome basis, right? So that's the beauty of the solution, right? We were able to kind of put everything in one box, right? And then said, hey, Mr. CFO, now you have all the technology and the competency that is required for me to accelerate, for me to deploy an accounts payable within next 4 weeks for you, right? And how do how do we engage is based on the outcome. That's what I was talking about in the first slide when we said the models of investment are changing. Right? Now, CFOs don't want to build this entire thing and realize that, the bot is only, or the automation is only 40% efficient. My finance team is still doing the work they're doing today. Right? So the engagement models are moving away from traditional deployments to now outcome based, right? So we did all this, and then we said, okay, you can take this, we'll enable you the implementation for 4 weeks, and then you only get to pay for the outcomes. That means the number of successful invoices that I was able to process, that the automation is able to process, you kind of pay me on that, right? So now you are able to connect the dots, I hope, right? So we're able to take all those challenges, address those challenges, and make it an efficient solution in a box, out of the box for you, and then a engagement model where you only get to pay for the outcomes. So the complexity is reduced for you. The complexity of figuring out what cloud, what ERP tool should I, what RPA tool should I use, what BPM tool should I use, what is the licensing model, what is the support team that I need, what is the security governance that I need, all that you don't have to worry about. And then you only have to worry about tracking whether your business KPIs are being met or not, right? So that is exactly the example that I took. Today, the CFO's team, again, I'm going back to the same telecom example where, they are only worried about, hey, how many invoices came in today? How many were processed within 24 hours, right? How many were approved? How many are pending, right? So those are the only KPIs they are worried about today. They're not worried about the software. They're not worried about the licensing. They are not worried about the system performance. They are not worried about the cloud, right? So that's why we said we call ServiceNext as a platform which simplifies the automation journey for enterprises. That's how it's positioned in the market today. Hope that was, I just wanted to kind of add to that, Raghav. Hope that was helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Vinil. And for everyone, this was not an easy journey for us. We have not got 96% plus of success rate overnight. We had our own, share of failures. But our dedicated data scientists, our dedicated ML engineers, they work day in, day out, identifying the most complex invoice processing, the most complex scan and document reading, and then they work on them. So you don't have to worry about all the complex, scanning and OCR and ICR capabilities. That's what we take over. Raghu, would you like to take over?
Yeah, so let's look at, what is APNext, what is our, APNext platform. So this is one of our, most popular platforms, which is basically our accounts payable automation platform. So this platform has helped multiple organizations to increase efficiency, improve accuracy, optimize the savings, and to ensure, ensure you gain a lot of insight into real-time analytics, right? So overall, it's helped the entire process and the team to reduce the overall manual effort required to process the invoices. So that is the end-to-end, accounts payable automation platform which we have built, which is known as APNext, right? So let's quickly take a look at some of the features of this platform, right? So basically, it has a AI-enabled data extraction engine, okay, which ensures there is accurate data extracted from your invoices, right? And we have also developed automated approval workflow to enable the approving of invoices from anywhere, right? So that there is no delay, there is no holdback, there is no vendor escalations, right, for delayed approvals and payments, right? And we have packaged a managed support as well, which is available round the clock, okay, post deployment. And the other important feature is the smart PO matching, right? So what happens here is that the details, the invoice details are matched in the ERP system, and post the details are matched, those are processed by the bot, right? In case the details are not matched, what happens is it automatically moves them to the manual queue. It's sort of a augmented workforce, right? Augmented workforce model. So that's what we have. So now let me take example and walk you through on the differentiated feature of the APNext, right? That is smart PO matching. So basically, one of our clients, a global telecom provider, had challenges in handling the PO matching within the AP process, right? So the team had to manually process, invoices. They had to match price, quantity, purchase order, and post doing that, they had to process the invoice, right? So this of course is a very time-consuming activity, and it's a very it delayed the entire end-to-end process, right? So basically, due to this, there were a lot of it's a lot of error prone, right? Delayed processing, and which also led to a lot of employee dissatisfaction, right? So our APNext platform helped automate this entire process by building a smart PO logic, right? Wherein the bot logs into the ERP, matches each of the invoice data within the ERP. It looks for the PO number, it looks for shipment, it looks for line, it looks for all the datas within the PO receipt as well. And once the details are matched, it goes ahead and processes the invoice, right? And in case the details are not matched, it again moves it to a manual queue where the SME validates it. And once the validation is done, the SME pushes it back to the bot for processing, right? So this helped the entire our clients accounts payable team to concentrate only on the mismatch details, right? So they don't have to bother on the entire end-to-end or all the invoices, so that they have a lot of free time. They can utilize the remaining time in a more meaningful task. So this is how it helps improve their efficiency, improve their overall accuracy of processing the data. So this is a quick snapshot about the features of APNext. Yeah, thank you. So this is this slide predominantly talks about the persona benefits, right? So basically you have multiple teams or roles within the AP team, right? Like you have AP professionals or analysts who process the invoices. Then you have finance controllers who are mainly involved in approving and ensuring that there are no delays, step in wherever there are any issues in processing or resolve the issues. And you have your finance leaders, right? So how has this, our APNext platform helped these, how has our APNext platform helped these roles or these, teams within accounts payable, right? So basically, it has helped AP professionals in accelerating the payments and reducing vendor escalations, right? Has helped, finance controllers in automating the entire approval process, right? And so that they can approve the invoices anywhere from anywhere, right? So they don't have to wait for anybody, and in some cases, we can also put in a mechanism where the invoices are automatically approved for a certain exception amount or certain amount, right? So that feature can automatically built in, so that there's no, we are cutting down the dependency and accelerating the entire process, right? And finance leaders have been benefited by using our real-time analytics dashboard, which gives you invoice level data in terms of what is the status, what is the pending amount, in terms of who has been approved, including the audit trail. So these are some of the benefits which have definitely helped the entire accounts payable team to look at APNext as one of their most useful accounts payable automation platform. And definitely, please do reach out to us for a quick demo on this entire platform, and we can definitely discuss on the implementation details and how how we can go ahead with the next steps. Yeah. So those were the quick persona based benefits for APNext. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Definitely we can take, else we can move on to the next slide.
Yeah. Thanks, Raghu.
Okay.
As we have seen, the implementation strategy, the benefits that we are going to get from using APNext and invoice processing automation, there are quite a few tenets that we need to keep in mind when we're trying to automate any process. There are 7, tenets that we were able to identify in automation implementation. So, number 1 is tactical to strategic. What we try to do is identify, normally, this is a pitfall that most of the automation teams do. They identify the low-hanging fruits and try to automate them immediately. At the same time, it's a good approach, but we also need to see what is the strategic implementation, what is the end-to-end implementation that we need to do.
We are talking about the 7 tenets, and these 7 tenets, I think we've kind of put these together, having learned a lot of lessons, like Raghav said, right? So the first point, let me quickly kind of cover this. I'm sure we are running out of time, but tactical versus strategic, right? So what does that mean? It means that there's a lot of things involved when you are looking at process automation as a journey, right? One is, what are the right processes? What is the right process for me to pick and automate, right? If a process is broken, let's say, there's no point in automating a broken process, right? Because that you will evolve that process, and then the automation won't evolve, right? Or you should have a mechanism in place for the automation also to evolve. That's what I talked about, a lot of support that is needed for these bots to actually stay relevant to your current ever-changing, ever-evolving business process, right? So that's number 1. So you've got to think strategic. You got to think, most people build the bot for today's scenario, right? And we've learned that, right? So today it's very tactical, right? For today, can I automate this, right? But then tomorrow, you're not thinking about 3 years down the line, whether what you're building today will be relevant for 3 years down the line. That's number 1, right? So we kind of figured out a model. We call that RPA opportunity and score index. It's a patented model where we are able to, at least with 80% accuracy, predict in terms of, whether this bot, what is the functionality that is being built in it, will be relevant to us 3 years down the line, right? That's number one. Number two, again, I said, the governance model, right? It's very, very important that, we have a very strong governance model in place, right? From who are the stakeholders that are driving this? What is the buy-in from the leadership, right? What is the visibility that this whole automation is creating within the enterprise, right? And, do we have an agile model where, we are able to constantly churn out these automations and make sure that those KPIs are being measured, the outcomes are being measured, right? That's number two. Number three is the change management. This is probably the most critical aspect, for any intelligent automation to be successful, because there is a lot of change that is required, right? Some of the finance and accounting processes that we automated, the teams were doing that particular function for the last 20 years in a certain way, right? It becomes very difficult for the teams to adopt change, right? There's a lot of heartburn in terms of, how their role is being redefined, what their role will be going forward, and so on and so forth, right? So carefully managing the change, right, is a critical aspect of, any successful automation. Otherwise, you can automate any process. If there's no adoption from business, then, it's not going to benefit anybody, any of the stakeholders within the system. Then the other thing is the process selection. Like I said, right, process selection is very critical. You got to find the right process for you to automate, right, and then scale, right? And then scope and expectation management. So, it is very, so again, expectation management is a critical part of change management, right? In terms of, what to expect. So currently, this is the process. In manual process, you have done it for a decade. You exactly know what are the pitfalls, you know whom to call, whom to pick up the phone and call. But then when you're saying that, hey, a bot is doing this instead of you doing it, then there is a sense of control loss, right? So you're saying, oh, I don't control this process anymore, right? So there's so how do you kind of set up the expectations, right, in terms of redefining the roles, right, in terms of redefining what a person will be doing, right, and how the bot is going to help him or her become more efficient, right? If that transparency is made, and if you spend enough time and invest enough time in setting those expectations, right, that will kind of help the entire initiative process. Okay? So these are some of the tenets that we learned as as we went about implementing automation for a lot of companies. I'll leave it at that. If there are any questions, we can take it. Yeah, I think these are some of the this is about the power of digital, right? Just to let you know, in terms of currently, right, any finance professional, the way he or she goes about the day is that you have the back office system, whether it's an SAP or an Oracle, and then you have a mailbox set, and then you have about 50 Excel sheets opened, right? And then, you go about processing all of that, right? That's your workspace today, right? Going forward, the workspace for AP professionals, if you are really email, whether you are on your mobile, right, you should be able to have complete visibility and transparency, right, in terms of what is happening within your AP operation, right? This is just one example, right, of a bot, AP bot that is sitting on your teams, right? And then you ask it some information, and then it is able to give it to you, right? So the digital technology is making sure that your process is following you, right? And you are not following the process somewhere. Makes sense so far? Yeah. Go ahead, next slide. This is again a similar example in terms of what is the status of an invoice that somebody is typing in Teams, and then it kind of showing that. Go to the next. I think we are running out of time. Yeah. So again, right, so agile, how do you scale? What is the process that has been most successful, right, for implementing and scaling technology, right? So right from executive kickoff, right, to having that functional lead workshop, to sitting down with the team, taking them through what will happen, what is the change management that is required, bringing them up to speed on agile and so on and so forth, right? And then there is an approach of what is the right process to pick. That's the diagnostic scan. And then you pick the initial automation candidate, you kind of build a small business case, right? Based on the business case, you kind of deploy it in a pilot environment. You see whether, the outcome is the required outcome is coming, and then you kind of move it to production. So this entire thing is an agile process. It's any automation, unless it is broken down significantly and you are able to take it to market within 4 weeks, right? 4 to 8 weeks, 4 weeks if it's a simple process, 8 weeks if it's a slightly more complicated process, we should not take that up, right? So that is the yardstick that we go by even today, right? That any automation that you pick, if it's a simple one, 1 to 2 weeks, you'll have to see the outcome. If it's a complex one, 2 to 4 weeks. It's a very smart bot that you want to deploy, not more than 8 weeks, right? So none of the projects that we take up are more than 8 weeks today. Go ahead to the next one. Yeah. So I think, yeah, the entire thing about, how we are able to offer this risk-free outcome-based engagement to our customers is what is defined here, right? In terms of right from, creating a COE for them, Center of Excellence for them, where finance professionals are able to come in and give us those POCs that they want to do. Once the outcome, we are able to accelerate that development because of our large COE facility that we have. I talked about that. And then, we are able to use our accelerators, right? Our partnerships with our enterprise partnerships with Amazon, Pega, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, we're able to kind of get that all, package it together, accelerate it. And then if you're able to see the outcome, we deploy it in the production. And then, we are able to kind of accelerate your journey. Go to the next one. So this is just a sneak peek at the ROCKS framework that I talked about, the RPA and opportunity qualification and scoring. It's a very scientific method that we developed so that, you are able to predict a lot of outcomes for the automations that you want to embark on. So that's about it, Raghav. We want to take it to the next steps.
Sure, Vinil. Can we move on to the next slide?
Yeah.
Go
to the next one.
As we're running out of time. So coming to the possible next steps, we are more than happy to reach out to you. Just let us know. We are just a ping away. We are ready to pick up a function in your organization, finance, marketing, HR. We will do the opportunity discovery using automated process mining and workforce intelligence tools. We'll reach out to your business users and identify the key areas of improvement. And then we will do the high-level business use case defining, come up with the solutioning, do a 60-minute business case playback session to the process owners who have given us the inputs. So we are going to convert the as-is process to the to-be process with solutioning, process improvement, KPIs, all defined. Then we will do a proof of value, which is nothing but proof of concept, and then present you the demonstration. These are the next possible steps, and we'll be more than happy to start doing the discovery for you. Any question and answers? Yep.
Yeah.
Vinil?
Oh, good. I think, yeah, we covered most of the ground today. Apologize, we kind of overshot by a couple of minutes, but then, yeah. Happy to take any questions. Like Raghav said, for a lot of enterprises, right, we've created in partnership with Automation Anywhere and UiPaths and Amazons of the world, we created an acceleration lab you are welcome to come and leverage that. The typical engagement model is that you pick a process like, AP or AR, whichever process that you want. You can say, hey, you know what, can I try this, right? And then, we'll work with you, make sure that, we invest in a proof of concept so that you can take it to the business, and then see, kind of validate the hypothesis, right? So yeah, that's an open offer from me and Raghav and team. So yeah, if there's any interest, shoot us an email, and then we'll kind of work together on that.
So
Thank you.
Vinil,
Thank you, Indira.
Yeah, thank you, Vinil, Raghav, and Raghu. I think it was, as far as I'm concerned, very, very relevant and extremely well detailed for all of us. So I'm sure everyone had a very interesting session. And as we mentioned, the Suneratech team will be more than happy to reach out to each one of you, and you will get your feedback, assessment forms, or any assistance. Please do reach out to us. We will be in touch. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Hey, thank you, Indira and team, for facilitating this.